Hey everybody, this is Pastor Doug Zirkle from Mission of Grace in Hayden, and I got more good news for you today. I know that President Trump's bracing us for some more deaths and things like that, and my heart goes out to everybody who's vulnerable to this disease and all the great caretakers out there that are trying to help them. By the way, this is my cat Knucklehead. He's uh, he's named after a motorcycle part for Harley Davidson, but he is a knucklehead. Anyway, but he's a good knucklehead. Anyway, today I did want to share a little bit more good news with you regarding the situation that we find ourselves in. And I happen to be, tucked away in my house like you are because I've had a kidney replacement surgery. Uh, I've been involved in some other accidents and whatnot, and I take this medication that really weakens my immune system. So it's not like I'm acting like, boy, I'm safe and sound and all this. I'm as at risk as anybody out there. And so we all of us anyway are at risk every day. And it doesn't have to be something like this virus. It could be anything that intimidates us or makes us feel a little bit uncertain about the future or maybe a little bit timid or insecure. But I got some good news about that if you're a believer and you live according to the good news message of Jesus Christ. It says in the Bible, 2 Timothy 1:7, you, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. What's encouraging about that is when we get afraid, when we're fearful, not for normal reasons like somebody's rattling around in your backyard or you get some news and it's necessary to be like afraid enough to be alerted. I'm talking about that fear that just eats at you, begins to ruin your sleep, begins just to gnaw at you, that sense of worry and doubt and insecurity and fear like you're not good enough, you're not going to make it, you can't do it. Well, that fear does not come from God. That is not a healthy fear. That either comes from the world at large or the devil himself or just ourselves with self doubt and confusion. We allow that fear to overwhelm us. And a lot of people live in that kind of intimidation and fearfulness. But I'm here to tell you today that if you're a Christian, you don't need to be afraid. God doesn't give fear. Fear is the enemy of God. God gives us instead power, love, and a sound mind. The kind of power he gives us is that dynamic power, the same kind of power that burst Jesus Christ from the grave 3 days after his death. It's a supernatural spiritual power that gives you a peace that passes all understanding. And it only comes from the grace and the benevolence of Almighty God. You've got to receive it. You've got to believe, I've got that. I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to feel insecure and intimidated by what's around me. I've got the power of God in my life. It says not only that, but he's given us the ability to love, the power to love. Love is not easy. We all know that. Love can be challenging. It's hard to love our neighbors sometimes. It's hard to love our coworkers. Sometimes it's just tough to love people that we want to love, but we can't. But God gives us his spirit, the ability to love, not just others, but to love ourselves. Sometimes a lot of our own fears and frustrations come from our inability to be able to accept who we are and to love ourselves and to not be ashamed of who we are. And yet it seems to eat at us with guilt and self consciousness sometimes. But God's given us a love greater than that, even a love to accept ourselves for who we are and to accept others. And last but not least, he says he's given us a sound mind, a clear mind, an ability to think, to be thoughtful, to have wisdom, to pursue wisdom, to seek knowledge in the comfort of God. We have the ability to do that because he's given us a sound mind. Not fear, not intimidation, but we as Christians have him in our hearts, and he has what it takes to survive anything, even death, even the fear of death. If God is for us, who can be against us? Anyway, okay, well, that's enough for today. God bless you guys. Stay safe and keep your heads up. Remember, God hasn't given us fear, but love, power, and a sound mind.